Hey, good morning, people. We're into it's Friday's devotion, by the way. Sorry, we got our order of days a bit mixed up at the beginning of the week, but what the heck, they're all there. We want to talk about what happened to David in this intriguing story. David found himself between a rock and a hard place. He wanted to serve Saul. He wanted to serve the king. He wanted to do what he was called to do, but Saul hated him, and so David had to run from him and hide. So David did an interesting thing. He went and he hid himself in the enemy camp. He went to the Philistines. He went to Achish, king of Gath. That's like going into the capital of the Philistines. And he thought no one would recognize him there. So he went in humbly, just as a normal person. But it wasn't long before the identity of this young man became clear. And they began to talk amongst themselves, the people of Gath, and they said, "Is this not the young man who was said of him that he killed his 10,000s and Saul only his thousands? Is this not him?" Well, David got word of it, that they would found him, that they knew who he was. So he did a very intriguing thing, and I have never ever preached on this, but I've got to find some sermon somewhere in it. David, when he realized he'd been found out, he would have got an Oscar for great acting. He pretended when they came to capture him to be a madman. He began to froth at the mouth, and it says that drool dribbled down his beard, and he became like a madman. And they dragged David, this apparent madman, in front of the king, Achish. And Achish took one look at this guy and says, "You mean this is David? This is the one who killed Goliath, the one who was our champion. This is the one who is now, coming up in the ranks of the Israelite army. You mean this is him? Listen, haven't I got enough mad people around me, and you bring me another one? Get rid of him." And so they took David out and they set him free. Hey, it was good acting. I'm not sure whether I could have pulled that one off, but in the moment of pressure, David knew what to do, and he put on a fine show. But you begin to see, if I were to find some kind of parallel for us here, you begin to see how we often come to our best when we're under pressure. Now he's under pressure, he's all alone. And he's under pressure that they could take his life. He's in the enemy camp, he's hiding, he's trying to keep his identity from anybody. And now he's really up against it, totally outnumbered. He had found Goliath's sword in the temple. At least he'd got that for himself. But that was never going to be enough to keep him safe and protected. So he got creative. He got very creative. And he put on the best act that you could possibly see, acting like a madman. Guys, you know what? Sometimes when we're against the odds, sometimes when the pressure is against us, it brings out the best in us. It brings out the most creative aspect of who we are. When I think of our journey through our church and our little place in our little corner of the world, and in Genesis, and I see how when our back is against the wall, we take nothing for granted. When our back is against the wall, we put every thought into being as creative as we possibly can be in the midst of a world that is not going to provide, is not going to give. And we just want to say thank you to our partners out there who've been so gracious in helping us and supporting us. Man, you guys are totally awesome. But there's been times when we've had our backs against the wall. We know we're doing what God has called us to do, and creativity is the name of the game. When you begin to look at life from the outside, you begin to look at life from a different perspective. And God can use that because he can use you. And God will never, very seldom does he do anything in isolation. He always uses people. He sometimes puts us in positions where our backs are against the wall and we don't know what to do. People switch on the creative switch and start thinking different thoughts. There will be a way through it. There'll be a God's way through it. It may look crazy, but God will bring across your mind something that will be creative, something that will be able to relieve you of the situation that you're in. The definition of a fool is somebody who does the same thing over and over and over, thinking he's going to get a different result. Well, let's not be foolish. If we keep bashing our heads against a brick wall, all we're going to do is get a headache. So let's stop bashing our heads. Let's stand back and say, maybe there's another way of doing this. Maybe there's another way of me conducting my family business. Maybe there's a way of me conducting myself better in public. Maybe there's a better ministry for me in the church. Maybe there's a better role that I need to play as a father, a mother, a teenager, a leader in the community. Start getting very creative and watch what God will do. Generally, we find ourselves, first of all, with our backs against the wall. That's when you could be at your very best. I hope you find that to be true. I'm sure you will. And think of this great story of David when you do. Have a fantastic day. Have a great weekend. Find yourself a place of worship, people. Let's get back into this thing. Corporate worship is vitally important. And you do your thing. Have a great day. See you soon.